Senior Nationals were this weekend, and wow, they were crazy. But what were the biggest upsets of the weekend? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling. And Senior Nationals were so great because we got the tournament format back. It's been a while since we've seen a great tournament happen. You know, all the cards, all the little bouts that we've had over the summer were fun and they were exciting, but a tournament is something where anything can happen. And as we saw, we had some new champions at Senior Nationals. These are all of your champions from the weekend. And actually, I don't even think the finals were the best part of the weekend. There were some good matches overall, and I was able to call, I believe, 3 or 4 out of these total champions beforehand whenever I made my choices. Let me know how good you did. But the thing that I found that was the most interesting were the upsets, and a lot of the upsets in the early rounds. And because of that, I'm diving into the new Fanco 5, which are now, I'm counting down the 5 biggest upsets of the weekend. And first we have to start out actually with an honorable mention. Okay, so I guess there's an asterisk because of this, and I really wanted to put this in there as a top 5, which was the Kyle Snyder losing to Kyvan Gadsden. Now, the asterisk is because he was injured. He was injured during this match. Although Gadsden was up in the first period, it was actually 5-0 before Snyder pulled out. But I believe it was 2-0, and Snyder was able to shoot in and on Gadsden. And then you see here, he hurt his knee and he was kind of hobbling back around the mat, kind of hopping around. And then he decided, okay, I'm going to wrestle this. I'm going to wrestle a little bit more and see how I can do. He was wrestling a little bit more and shot in. Gadsden kind of got around, got behind him, and he was just like, "Yeah, that's it. I gotta pull out." So Kale ended up throwing in the towel for Snyder, which was unfortunate to see. I hope he gets better. I hope it was just a little, sprain or something, not very major. But this, I mean, it was a big thing, and it ended up getting Kyvan Gadsden into the finals against Colin Moore. So now we're actually to our number 5 pick, or number 5 right here, and counting down 5 biggest upsets. Number 5, Tanner Hall over number 1, Don Bradley. Now, Bradley was the number 1 seed. He ended up beating him. Tanner Hall ended up beating Bradley 3-2. And unfortunately, out of all of the ones on this list, this was like the least exciting match. It was a big upset because it was over the number 1 seed, but it was just kind of boring. I mean, overall, a lot of these matches were super exciting, and I love to watch them. But right here, you see a lot of what happened during this match was a lot of step outs. It was essentially 2-2 with some step outs and shot clocks until the very last second, whenever there was a lot of running around on both guys' parts, with Dom going after Hall going after Bradley, and then Hall ends up getting the point at the end to make the score 3-2. But Bradley was able to come back easily for a 3rd place finish, but it was a big upset in the semifinals of the 125 kilogram bracket, and that brings us to number 4. Number 4 biggest upset of the weekend was Evan Wick over Ryan Deacon. Now, this came actually in the Consi semis of the 74 kilogram bracket, and wow, 10-0. Wick teched Deacon. I mean, on paper, maybe this wasn't a crazy upset at number 4 over number 2 and Wick over Deacon. Like, it's not necessarily absurd. Wick I think he's a little bit bigger than Deacon. He has a little bit, not just taller, because I think that actually is what played a lot into the match. But a tech, I mean, I had to put this on the Fanco 5 list. So Wick came out with an early takedown, was able to get a takedown early on Deacon, and that really helped out, and he was unrelenting from there. Wick was just too big and lengthy for Deacon overall. Ended up getting some more takedown in back to make it 6-0 at the break. And then in the second period, Deacon was able to shoot in and trying to score, but Wick was just able to counter everything that Deacon had, even with a crotch lift, and that ended the match. Coming down off of a loss that Deacon had in the semis, it was in the semis, I believe, or excuse me, in the quarters, coming back off of that, it's always tough to battle back from a loss in the championship round. And so that could have played into this a little bit, but we did see Deacon end up coming back and, finishing out the tournament strong, but still, it was crazy. But that brings us to now, speaking of Deacon again, unfortunately, another loss for Deacon was number 5, David Carr over number 4 Ryan Deacon in the 74 kilogram quarterfinal. So this was that quarterfinal match I was talking about earlier, and geez, this was exciting. Now, although Deacon did end up losing this match, I do have to say that he did end up coming back and beating Carr for the 5th place round, where he beat him 5-2. But in this bout, wow, there was not a lot happening in the first period, okay, but kind of towards the end, Deacon was able to get 1 off the shot clock and then 2 off of a takedown, so it was 3-zip going into the break. After the break, Carr was able to score off of a low single, beautiful low single. And then a little bit later, once they get reset to their feet, Carr and Deacon got into a crazy scramble situation. Deacon was able to get exposure, but Carr ends up on top in his 5-5 with 16 seconds left. What ended up happening was Deacon, kind of like in the Evan Wick match where he shot in, but in this match he shot in, got flattened out, but was able to get back up and kind of get Carr to the edge of the mat. And so he worked back up, got him to the edge of the mat, but Carr was ultimately able to get that step out at the very end and win the match 6-5. But man, this was an exciting match, and this is a match that brings a lot into the college game, because of course we know that Deacon and Carr, as well as Hidley at 157 pounds, is going to be exciting in this upcoming season. And because of that, you know, we saw a lot of the triangle kind of happening here with these three, with Hidley defeating Carr in the Conti semis 10-5. There's a lot of craziness that's going to be happening in this upcoming season with the three of these guys. And these 2 upsets at the top are my favorite. I mean, they are my favorite of the weekend and should not be overlooked by anyone. Number 1 is number 9 Andrew Alvarez, over number 1 Joey McKenna. So Alvarez over McKenna in the quarterfinals, and I believe it was semifinals, number 2, it was the quarterfinals, yes. Because what happened is Alvarez ended up having a phenomenal tournament. Beat number 8 Mitch McKee, beat number 1 Joey McKenna, ended up beating Yaya Thomas, who was the number 12 seed, and then Evan Henderson, he ended up beating in the finals, with a pretty nice score. So 65 kilogram bracket. This was exciting. And you see here in this graphic that I have up here, and of course all these are coming from Flow Wrestling. You can check out each of these matches linked down in the description below. That'll take you right there. But in this match, Alvarez just lifted McKenna right off the mat, and you could see his strength just in this pure shot right here. Although McKenna was rocking the man bun and got off to an early scoring position in the first period, Alvarez was just able to get in on some quick, nasty singles and a turn. And that's what Alvarez had this tournament, was just a nice, nasty, quick single legs. He's so quick, and seeing him, you know, get in on these guys. And like I said, when he was able to lift up McKenna like that, I was like, whoa, that was crazy. But McKenna was able to tie back up the score. As you know, there was a lot of back and forth in this match between Alvarez and McKenna, a lot of back and forth. But Alvarez just a little bit too much for him in this match. Ended up 6-4, and that advanced him into the semis and eventually into the finals. But McKenna still had a great tournament. He ended up battling back for third. He teched Jaden Ironman and had a nice 6-1 win over Thomas for that 3rd and 4th place bout. And that brings us to the number 1 upset of the tournament. And what was the number 1 upset? This came in the round of 16 in Dillon Goosen over number 2 Darian Cruz. Now, Goosen, Cruz was supposed to just take him out easily. It wasn't even supposed to really be a match. But Goosen, wow. The Michigan freshman had quite a match with him. And I think the craziest part about this to me, and especially if you go watch this right now and you haven't watched this match, you're watching it, and because Cruz came out, he got a quick, nice takedown, and even though Goosen, he had some nice hips, he had some great flexibility, a great defense, Cruz was just able to get a snap down to 2, and then eventually in that first period was able to get some back points. So what ended up happening then, and I was actually not watching this match live, so full disclosure, I was not watching this match live, which I think makes it even crazier, because it's 6-2 there were like 10 seconds on the clock, and I'm like, how does he end up winning this? How does he end up winning this match? And so it's 6-2, ends up getting a push out, and, you know, they go out of bounds. There's 6 seconds left on the clock now. And I'm like, what is going to happen here? And then you see this position, which is essentially what happened. End up getting Goosen got off the whistle, right to a takedown, and they got into kind of a shifty position where he was able to get some backs. And Cruz was not happy about that, and understandably so, because this position, it was tough to tell if he ended up getting the exposure, if he did or didn't, but they ended up reviewing this call, and he did end up getting some points there to make the final score 7-6. And Cruz ended up not even placing in this senior nationals, which was unfortunate for him that he didn't place. But what ended up happening, I mean, Goosen just had a crazy run. He beat Jeremiah Reno first round, then he beat the number 2 seed in Darian Cruz, and mind you, Goosen is unseeded, which is like unbelievable. He ended up beating Petrie who was the number 7 seed, Sean Russell, the number 6 seed, and then he lost to Vito Arujau in the finals. He just wasn't quite on Vito's level, and we'll see if he's able to make those steps. But, you know, Vito had a pretty nice run too, and he was the kind of the clear victor of this whole tournament, of this whole event. I mean, so many great upsets. Please let me know what your favorite upset was. And I want to thank my Fanco Wrestling channel members for helping to put this video together and continuing to support this channel. Now, if you are interested, I have other videos that you can watch right here. You go ahead and click those, and that will take you right to another Fanco Wrestling video. I really enjoyed this tournament. Thought it was a lot of great things that happened there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.